Hey there, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and yeah, very little happened this week. Let's have fun with it. And it's Billboard BREAKDOwn. I don't remember. Well, yeah, this is a little awkward. You psych yourself up for the fallout of the Olivia Rodrigo album bomb, and none of it even leaves the Hot 100. Because what is there to even replace it in 2026 when it feels like the epitome of stagnation? And since I'm ahead of the game and already finished my mid-year list for my main channel, should be debuting at some point for the public on July 1st. We'll probably do a premiere, hope to see y'all there. When we get a shockingly short week on the Hot 100, it's pretty much just catch-up work on my end and vacation. Can't say I'm complaining about that. It's going to be a short episode. Let's not waste time. And let's kick it off with our top 10 and a return to the number 1, Choosin' Texas by Ella Langley. And can I say I'm starting to get a little bit sick of it? I was happy when it was more of a sleeper hit, but the overplay is kind of getting to me when I look at the one song and see all the mismanagement elsewhere, where it's dominant on streaming and sales because nobody else is really trying that hard to beat it. Case in point, I Knew It, I Knew You by Taylor Swift slipped down to number 2. It's a weaker song by every margin. It lags on every channel except radio, which has really gotten behind it. But it at least feels like Taylor Swift is half-heartedly trying. And the reason I bring that up is Be Her by Ella Langley up to number 3. And you wouldn't know that Nashville has decided to not make a pop push whatsoever on the radio. It's just rotating it out as usual, but the streaming is still so robust, it held out against competition. It just kind of failing upward. This could have easily competed for number 1. Now you might wonder why I get so agitated about this in comparison with, say, Olivia Rodrigo, who's got the next 2 spots with Stupid Song slipping down to number 4 and Drop Dead at number 5, the latter with enough radio to compensate for its streaming losses. Why are you giving her a pass for not pushing harder? Well, 2 reasons. Number 1, every single standard album cut Rodrigo has ever made has charted, and she's 3 albums in. She'll be fine with whatever she chooses to do, including if she wants to go back to acting. And secondly, more importantly, there's a broadly different ethos at play when Olivia Rodrigo's team still plays the game seemingly in line with what she wants and does well enough where you can clearly identify Rodrigo's attention is elsewhere and feels increasingly more alternative or indie. Whereas Ella Langley's team are Music Row people that would probably claim to be good capitalists, smart business people who wants what's best for her career, and yet have chosen not to make bigger moves, and the cynical laziness or cowardice feels systemic when you just know Morgan Wallen on his own would get at much of a push if he asked for it. They've done it before. I mean, say what you will about Janice SDFU by Drake up to number 6, as the song claws its way up radio and back up on streaming. At least in his cynical chart-chasing game he wants to play, even if the music sucks. Anyway, Hate That I Made You Love Me by Ariana Grande is also back up to number 7. Not entirely surprising, she's got momentum across the board, even radio. And right behind her is Man I Need by Olivia Dean at number 8, where this feels more like filling in the gaps left over from album bomb losses. There's certainly not much momentum anywhere else. But then we got I Can't Love You Anymore by Ella Langley and Morgan Wallen at number 9, and this is another prime example of that Nashville complacency. Despite a consistent rebound across the board, they have not shipped this to pop radio, and you'd think with Wallen's name recognition attached, that would be automatic, but he's not the first name on the bill, even though working with Ella Langley's production has him sounding like the best he has in years. Why not capitalize on momentum? Hell, I can prove this. I went back to check the numbers for when Morgan Wallen worked with Tate McRae last year for What I Want. That song is considerably worse, one of the worst hits of that year, broadly rejected across streaming, but it got a pop radio push. Is it just because Tate McRae is a pop act, even though she needed Wallen to get the crossover number 1? Or is it because Langley hasn't paid enough dues yet or some nonsense. Well, anyway, finally there's Dracula by Tame Impala and Jenny back at number 10. I don't get why the radio loves this, but they're keeping it around despite everything else. Joy. Anyway, let's focus on our losers and dropouts, and there are actually two big ones in the latter group for a pretty quiet week. Dandelion by Ella Langley and Body by Don Tolliver. One's fine, the other one's pretty bad. They're both gonna likely make the year-end list for 2026. Whereas the losers here are just a combination of Olivia Rodrigo and Drake. Let's deal with the latter one first. National Treasures at 55, Plot Twist at 76, and Dust at 90. I will say I'm a bit surprised this many Olivia Rodrigo songs clung on. The losses weren't that significant. Maggots for Brains at 24, My Way at 28, What's Wrong With Me featuring Robert Smith at 30, Begged at 31, You Plus Me Equals Love at 33, Less at 34, Cigarette Smoke at 50, and Purple at 54. So okay, what's filling in the gaps? Well, not much. The bigger story is more in our gains than any returns. The latter group is just full of songs that were bounced from the very bottom and they're clinging on for dear life, like Speed Demon by Justin Bieber at 92, or In My Room by Julia Wolf at 95, or Kingdom of Fear by Cameron Whitcomb at 96. What's interesting about the gains is that they have the feel of plugging in holes rather than a lot of momentum on their own, especially the slate near the very top, which are largely established hits just getting enough of a new leash. Homewrecker by Somber at 16, Midnight Sun by Zara Larsson at 19, Be By You by Luke Combs at 21, Die on This Hill by Sienna Spiro at 40, and for the songs that haven't quite clinched their year-end list spots, Don't We by Morgan Wallen at 22, and Spend Dat by Young Miami at 25. That last one might just wind up a summer hit, and that seems dire. But that bottom half of our gains just can't help but feel a little bit thin to me. Singles that are getting pushed because what else are you doing right now? House Tour by Sabrina Carpenter at 68. Damned If I Do by Vincent Mason at 77. Mr. Know-It-All by Teddy Swims at 84. And Rocky Mountain Low by Corey Kent and Co Wetzel, following off some previous gains at 85. I'm not even saying that all these are bad, but is this the sound of your summer? Do you expect a lot of positive momentum here? I'm not hearing it. Now, this is where I would normally throw in something close to a world hit, something that might be a little more interesting somewhere else. But I'll be honest, I'm not seeing much that really jumps out at me. A lot of old songs getting traction or just mimicking a lot of bad trends stateside. And I'm including the Canadian charts here. We might be giving Cowgirl by Shabuzi a proper chance along with a lot more Noah Kahn songs, but it's still not exactly promising. But okay, screw it. Let's grab something from the Canadian charts that's been around for a couple of months. Let's talk about that instead.
Baby, you're just an ocean for my emotions, crashing my deepest crush. When the lights dim down, buzzing in slow motion, I like the way we touch. Yeah, the watch on your wrist says that any minute we'll start making love. When the lights dim down, buzzing in the distance, I'll never get enough of the way we touch.
So I've talked briefly about Charlotte Cardin before, a couple of years ago, in terms of Canadian hits that are worth checking out in one of my year-end lists. Their second album was pretty good, but not great. This is a single push from her third album, and look, you know what? I wasn't expecting this to be all that special, but if you want a slickly produced, smoky bit of synth funk with a very well-defined bass line and piano that rips across some saxophones seemingly because it can, this absolutely fits that bill. What's interesting about Cardin is just how well she balances the chill opulence with sensuality, on the cusp of being a little too cool for any room, but the song yearns a little too hard to fully tilt all the way there, and is better for it. It feels very tactile in the details to set up the encounter with somebody familiar, with an ease and swagger in its patter that feels liquid in a way that reminds me of flashier emotional oranges. If you know me, that's a compliment. So yeah, this is pretty sweet. I may actually have to get around and check out that album sometime later this year, but in the meantime, this is really good. Give it a shot. But now on for our sparse 2 debuts this week. Number 100, Carry On by Kenny Chesney.
In a bucket anyways, carry on, who cares what the naysayers say? It's Saturday night, get carried away. Carry on, can't carry nothing with you, and it won't be long till it's 6 carrying you home. Till then you gotta carry on.
I mean, I guess Kenny Chesney hasn't exactly gone away. The last time he charted was working alongside Megan Maroney, and that song was fine last year. And he's long been a staple of the summer beach parties with country music. Why not let him get back at the very bottom of the Hot 100? Especially if he can produce something with some warm organic charm and a jaunty sing-along hook. I mean, he didn't write this, unsurprisingly. But what caught me more off guard was how bluntly formulaic it all feels. The painfully stock chord progression, the very stock light country rock guitars, the brief reggae diversion on the bridge, the utterly throwaway lyrics where he just wants everyone to be carrying on no matter what their problems are. All about that good time. If it feels good, do it. If it doesn't, don't. The issue I have is that there are the seeds of kind of an interesting idea here. The verses are about meeting an old woman who's still working the bar, still serving drinks, and asking her what her secret is to keep on going. And it turns out she's had a really interesting life. She even kissed Elvis Presley when she was young. But then you realize the writers actually gave her age as being 69. And dumb reference aside, Elvis Presley died in 1977, which means for this song coming out in 2026 means this woman was in her late teens or just turned 20 when she may have kissed Elvis. And this would have been fat Elvis near the very end of his life. I mean, probably true given what we know about Elvis's reputation, but dude, how bad are you at reading the room, Kenny Chesney? I did not want to have age gap discourse with one of your songs. That knocks this track off the formulaic into utterly bewildering, because the only reason you're going to remember this song now is based off of what I just told you. It's not a good sign. And yet, finally number 89, Chevy Silverado by Bailey Zimmerman.
The sun bleeds Polaroid off my dash. I ain't got the girl in it, but I still have this white Chevy Silverado, and it'll drive all night to get to you tomorrow.
Okay, to put it bluntly, when I was way more forgiving of Bailey Zimmerman than most, the dude has really tested my patience the past couple of years. And 2026 has been even less promising. I tend to avoid talking about criminal proceedings around artists, but Zimmerman behaving like a drunken, belligerent tool with poor live shows, then canceling shows as a result. I mean, fans forgive a lot, but I've got the suspicion that he might be flailing a little when Nashville realized they couldn't replace Morgan Wallen so quickly with him. Anyway, this is really bad buzz when you got a new single off that album from last year that I didn't bother to cover, and I don't think I was missing that much. And again, probably the right decision. This isn't particularly good. One observation I made early on with Zimmerman is that he clearly was putting in a lot of influence from post-grunge from the 2000s. And with that squonking tone that runs through the low half of the song, the louder guitars, what barely passes as a solo, as he reminisces about some ex-girlfriend where at least he still has the car, the Chevy Silverado. It feels a lot like the turgid country crossover songs the genre started making very near the end. And you know, there are parts of this that could have worked. The second verse and bridge have a little bit more brightness. You can tell Zimmerman wants to sell some actual yearning. But the tempo and especially the hook are so slow that it doesn't really function as a good driving song. And every time you hear about the Chevy Silverado, you wonder if it's just a car commercial in disguise. But so much of this is also rooted in how drained Zimmerman sounds. If the tour's being hard on him, we can tell. And if the production had more restraint to sell his weariness and that sort of depiction, that maybe could have worked. But it's going bigger, probably to its detriment. As a whole, I guess it's a little better, but only barely. Certainly not his best. If this falls off quick, I'm not going to be losing any sleep. And yeah, that's our week. Can I just give the best of the week to Charlotte Cardin and move on? No, I guess Zimmerman gets the best effectively by default for Chevy Silverado, while Kenny Chesney gets the worst for Carry On thanks to that baffling lyrical decision. Next week, probably quiet again given the holiday stateside, we'll have to see. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.